Right.
They wanted to get that issue in front of you.
Right.
And in retrospect, and I think there was some late breaking information related to that issue. When we started to get information on that lawsuit, I think that kind of changed several things. It changed not only the way we looked at this one, but it really begs the question on going forward as we look at other events. So the mayor's given direction that we look at all of the special events. Staff's already started on that so that we can make sure that when we spend dollars, whether they're general fund dollars or large dollars, that we're getting a return on investment and that we're engaging in activities that do benefit the community and further our economic vitality. So, yeah, that's.
Well, a couple of points there. One is, I had asked to see a business plan. Okay, where's the executive summary business plan? Didn't get it. And I asked, how are they organized? Profit, non-profit, who's involved? What's the budget? What's their experience? And in my mind, what is their protection for us on liability? None of that was forthcoming to me for whatever reason. So I was sitting in with no document I can refer to or review. And Steve was out of town. And but what I've learned from this is, unless you feel differently, is next time I'll say, could we please table this until the next meeting? Now that does put off that decision, but then we could have had a more complete conversation. In this case, since we're getting into it, and I'm going to bring it up next week, I am not supporting this race for 2013 upon for consideration. I think
2012.
Pardon me?
2012.
2012, excuse me. For a number of reasons, including, I heard what, Jan, what you said, and I heard what you said, Marie, and I agree, we can't have everything totally defined before we go into the year. We are going to have things come up that are worth pursuing. In this case, is this the best way to spend that amount of money? Are there other events where we get a better return, not necessarily financially, but in terms of image, community pride, the various different ways we could measure performance there? And Steve and I have talked about this. Steve and his staff are going to develop a complete menu of potential events. Hopefully you'll add to that we could look at going forward. We're going to look at other successful cities, what they do in terms of events, particularly cities that are outdoor sports oriented, that are biking oriented, and just see if we can come up with a list of, I don't know, 10, maybe 20 different items, and then match that up with what's it going to cost in terms of in-kind services relatively to each other. What's the risk? What's the relative risk? And present that, and sit down with you and say, well, here's what we've learned, and you contributed to that. Now could we have a more strategic approach to how we're going to do this? My concern in the present instance is I don't see a plan. I still haven't seen a plan.
Did you ever receive any of the information you asked for, the business plan?
Not yet.
The history?
Well, and it's a very interesting idea, as you all already discussed. It definitely is. I'm just concerned about we don't have enough time to make sure it's as well organized as it should be, that we'll have reasonable liability risk. We can never have zero liability risk, but reasonable. And we just feel that we need to take a more strategic approach to this. So I'm laying it on the table, and I kind of set you up inadvertently, it bothers me, because I served up the subject and then it didn't say, by the way, I'm not supporting it. Now I am not supporting it today, for the reasons I mentioned.
Did you get that list, Angela? That's part of your process.
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying. I'm
the mayor
thanking you
asked.
for, sort of jump-starting exactly what I've been working with the council. I think the council's gonna have the same kind of process, because whether it's staff or a person who comes up with an event, we can't spend city taxpayer dollars unless we do have an economic return. We're sure it is something that works for our city. Because we have the most beautiful city in the world, and people should be dying to want to come here. We shouldn't be giving it away every time someone steps at the podium. So I'm glad you have that process. I'm really hoping to work with the council that we have our own process, so together those mesh and we can move forward. So this is exactly what I'm hoping. So thank you.
Well, I was approached by some people yesterday. I think maybe already talked to some of you who would like to have a race up Pikes Peak, late summer, early fall. I don't know if that's a better idea. It's a closed course, and it can be closed, so there's less risk of people taking it over. Whether that's a better event to support than this, I don't know. But I just would suggest we need to try to, like everything else we're trying to do, all of us, we need to get ahead of the power curve. And I respect you can't have us coming to council and asking for an immediate decision on matters of great importance. And at the same time, for me to be comfortable, I've got to know we've looked at the alternatives, that we really have vetted any given event, and we're learning.